Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. More than 50 have joined. They'll be joining in another 2, 3 minutes, but we can start. Uh, Good morning, everyone. I welcome all our participants, our esteemed resource person, colleagues, students, our principal sir to this national webinar on challenges of teaching learning in schools in rural areas during COVID-19 pandemic. We have with us Professor Veera Gupta for this webinar. Uh, this webinar is being organized by Unnat Bharat Abhiyan project of Shamlal College in collaboration with IQAC of the college. I just want to give a brief introduction about the project. The Unnat Bharat Abhiyan project, we've been associated with this project for the last 2 years, since 2018, and it's the flagship program of Ministry of Education. This particular project, under this particular project, we have adopted 5 villages in Uttar Pradesh, and in these 5 villages, we have been conducting surveys. We've been going there, and we are constantly, in fact, during the COVID pandemic, we have been constantly in touch with the village officials and the senior members of the village. We have conducted household surveys, which is and the village survey, which is the mandate of Unnat Bharat Abhiyan. And in these surveys, we have been able to collect data on very vital parameters. For example, the education levels, the employment, the employment that the people in village are involved with, what are the issues and problems that plague these villages, what are the challenges that need to be looked into and overcome. So we have created a massive database. I must tell you that we have the survey data of almost 2 to 2,500 people in these villages. And we have also, with this data, we have also tried to highlight and try to zero down to the issues and problems that are there in these villages. And we were actually planning workshops and programs when the lockdown happened in March 2020. Despite the lockdown, we did our bit, and we as was again the mandate of Unnat Bharat Abhiyan, we have been in touch with the village senior members through WhatsApp. We have conducted awareness programs online, tried to conduct awareness programs online. We have forwarded materials to them. We have also distributed masks and food packets during April, May, and June time in this year. So, but yes, there are a lot of programs which we would like to conduct physically by going and visiting those villages. So we hopefully will be able to do that in by the end of this year. I'm really hoping that. Now, when we conducted the survey in the villages, we realized and we got to know that there are a lot of issues that village people are facing. Issues related to sanitation, waste disposal, and lack of entrepreneurial opportunities for women specifically. Almost, I would say, 10 to 20% of the women in all these villages together, they have some skill they have had some kind of skill with them, but they have not been able to optimize those skills. And with this pandemic when the entire world and the country shifted to online teaching and learning, uh, we realized that maybe online teaching and learning is not it cannot be implemented, or is very difficult to implement in rural areas where there is no internet connectivity at a mass level. There as far as laptops are concerned, that's just unthinkable. Even children who have phones with them, or if they have phone at their homes, or if they have smartphones, then connectivity issues are there. In fact, I also get to know that CBSE is thinking of postponing their board exams this year, because there has not been any teaching and learning that has happened in government schools, even in urban areas. So one can think about the situation in rural areas. So these are some of the issues and even more challenges that Professor Veera Gupta is going to take up today. Uh, Professor Veera Gupta is working as professor at National Institute of Educational Planning and Administration, New Delhi. She has served education sector as manager, teacher, researcher, and regulator. Her engagement at academic and regulatory bodies has resulted in giving new insights in rolling out policies for the country. She has contributed in policy making and implementation at National Council for Teacher Education and Central Board of Secondary Education. Her academic engagements in teaching and research at NIPA and Delhi University has resulted in preparing planners for the country, as well as providing research evidences for policy making. She works on policies related to teacher education and inclusive education. She has managed international educational projects at USCFI, CIL, World Bank, and UNESCO. She is attached with ground reality through therapy program for children with specific disability. I welcome you, Professor Veera Gupta, for today's program. Before we invite you to deliver your lecture, I would request our principal sir to give the welcome address. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. Am I audible? Uh,
Yes, sir.
first, yeah. First of all, I would like to congratulate our Unnat Bharat team for having given a thought about this school kids who are in the situated in different places, including the remote areas of this vast country. So when teaching and learning become very challenging, even for people in the urban areas, even in the metropolitan areas, so thinking beyond that is a remarkable thing. For that reason, I really your team deserves lot of accolades. And secondly, the Unnat Bharat team of SLC doesn't stop here. We are proactively taking a lot of steps, as you said very rightly, for lending a helping hand to this people in the times of this kind of difficulties, which is which is quite commendable. And secondly, we have with us and such a illuminary personality before us who has vast experience in dealing with this basically in the schools education in the school areas. He has a vast amount of experience with her, and the practical interactions, the practical exposures to this stakeholders that will enlighten us in in learning us also a lot of things to we can provide a helping hand. Recently our university also we thought of bringing out a policy of holding a hand. So that holding a hand is fitting into this kind of a thing where we want to mentor some of these schools. We want to mentor at least some areas or educational institutions in the periphery rural areas, to whom we can mentor, we can support, we can lend a helping hand during this pandemic times. This is really something at least each one of us should think, and we must help them in these challenging times. And having said that, once again, I warmly welcome Professor Veera Gupta, though she is very, very humble, very, very human. At the same time, she carries with herself a vast amount of practical, knowledge, experiences. We are looking forward to learn from her, and uh, at the same time also, we, as you and all of us, must be knowing that beyond this online teaching through internet also, we have these facilities of the government like Doordarshan is there. Even IGNOU is having a very, very mammoth facilities of studios and other things where directly they telecast a lot of teaching and learning material, which we must have experienced during our growing of years also. So I'm just wondering if we, all of us, with the help of even NIPA, can pull up those resources. We can co-share and co-create a lot of content for the use of the even the school children, because we don't know when this pandemic is going. So in
Yeah.
order to meet this challenge, at least we plan something, because they have huge. I'm sure they have huge amount of facilities which remains unused. Even Doordarshan has a huge amount of resources with them. Only thing is that that needs to be galvanized, and with the cooperation of all stakeholders, we can take it, we can upgrade that. With this, I don't want to take much time. I would very, very warmly once again welcome you, madam, and all the participants also. There is a message, and seeing the interest of the participants, the message I think has already been delivered, and all of us must be very, very keen to learn and take it further. With these words, once again, I welcome you, madam. Thank you.
So thank you, Professor Kar and Kusha. It is my privilege that you have asked me to share and talk on this topic. Am I audible? And I don't think I am visible, but my presentation is visible, is it? Hello?
Yes, madam,
Yes,
you
ma'am.
are very much audible, madam. Just put it the presentation in the slides, that presentation mode, so it will become bigger and more clear also.
Okay, okay. So wait a minute. Okay, is it okay? I need to
Yes,
get,
ma'am.
yeah,
Yes,
okay,
ma'am.
okay. So today, actually, all of us, I understand, are the teaching fraternity from different colleges of higher education. But as very rightly mentioned by Professor Kar, we only are not concerned by the students with whom we teach, but we are also concerned by for the people around us and for the next generation, school children, and especially rural and urban slums. It's a very apt topic which you have taken up for our extension activities as teachers, how we are going to help rural areas. And today we are just going to discuss what is the status during COVID and what all our other peers and government sector has done for their upbringing or to help them. So let's see, how do we get? We all of us are having some experience or personal contact with the people who are around us, our workers or the people on road or the vendors from whom we buy our daily vegetables and all. And through informal communication, we have an idea how their children are learning. Sometimes we get information from our
Ma'am, there is a hello.
have been quoted very extensively, and they have a randomized control group experiments in education sector, which very few organizations are doing. And let me tell you that this year economic Nobel Prize winner has quoted ESSER report findings for which he was awarded Nobel Prize. So this is the ESSER which has done a survey on rural education and learning outcomes for during COVID period. Okay. So this year, how they conduct survey, generally they go to villages and they just sit on any choraha or any, common place in that village, and whoever are the children playing, they don't go to school or they don't go to household. So any children who are just playing, they sit with them and talk to them, and then they find out where they are learning, where they are enrolled, and what is their level of learning. So this is their methodology. But this year they didn't go face to face in person, and they conducted this survey through phone calls. Okay. So they have reached quite a large number, which is a very good sample to collect data. And the data is also from 30 states. So it is a very, you can say it is a reliable data, and we can depend on this data because of its size. Now, what this data reveals to us, that what has happened in our country with respect to education of rural children. Okay. They said, first of all, the rural children admission has gone down. In any case, when we say our access targets of this children, of the school age population, which we are struggling since last 70 years in our country, access issue of education, or which we know as GER or NER, are not really achievable, or we are not really fulfilling those targets, whether it was MDG goals and now we have SDG goals 2030, but our access is also issue. Though it is little better for primary, not so good in higher education, for which we are concerned. But even in primary, the COVID situation, the enrollment, the admission is also affected. So what was the admission rate last year? It is less this year. Now, textbook is always, I mean, learning material, you forget about ICT or IT based learning material. Even textbooks are not available to our rural children. The, as you must be reading in newspaper many a times, NCRT is at national level which publishes textbooks. Then we have a state level textbook bureaus also under Directorate of Education. They are supposed to supply textbooks. And you must have also read in the newspaper about the controversies of fake textbooks being sold in the name of NCRT or CBSE textbooks, which are not the original textbook, but some textbooks which are being forged. But even any kind of, whether it's original or forged, there's no textbook available to rural children because they get transported and reached through trucks and all. And this COVID period has even denied that minimum learning material to our rural children. So this is something what ESSER has found out. Now, what kind of learning activity was taking place? All SCRTs of this country, diets, BRC, CRC, and schools, whether it's principal or teachers, if you read the policy directions or circulars, they have been directed to continue video classes or online classes or distance mode learning activities. So in that way, this finding is little encouraging that 70% of children got some input, but it is just some input, okay? And 11%, this is very interesting, that 11% could also attend online classes. We are not talking about public schools, what we call private schools in our country. We are talking about government funded schools. So at least 11% had some live online classes. Now, less than 36% rural children receive learning material from the school. Now, this is one of the order to all school principals and teacher to pass on learning material to children. Okay, so you can see at least 36% could reach. This is an order for all, but only 30% could get it. Okay, and this is very encouraging. And if you see the reports of all SCRTs, coordinators or people who are working, they immediately switched to WhatsApp. So among all the platforms which were available, WhatsApp is extensively used, and most of the children had some connection through WhatsApp, through the phone or through the WhatsApp. So this is the best app which has proved beneficial for providing or seeking education. So through WhatsApp, most of the children are able to contact their teacher and get some material. So this is the main findings of ESSA. Okay. Now this was an Indian NGO who did a survey. Now what is the finding of an international UNESCO findings, which is published in September, that how we are doing in the era of COVID and how other countries have also done it. So this is very interesting that mostly 90% countries have adopted digital learning and some broadcast remote policies. And that is true in India also. All the states, whether it's Kerala, Rajasthan, or Odisha, they immediately have told their education people to use state radios or the state televisions to broadcast lessons. So this at policy level, yes, it has happened. But ESSER has shown us that at reaching policy implementation or percolation level, you have seen what is happening. So policies, at least they have made, okay? But very less, and that is true for India, because pre-primary education is not part of formal education system in country. Our new education policy is talking about ECCE, but so far at present, pre-primary classes are not part of our formal system. So very few policies are available for pre-primary level. So pre-primary children are basically unmanaged or unplanned, or they are not doing any education when it is a government or rural area. But yes, public schools, very famous public schools, are able to provide video lessons. So the UNESCO finding says that these policies have been successful with respect to 69% of coverage of the population, and they are basically being percolating down and children are really using. Okay, but they have also found the same thing, that 31% of school children worldwide, not only just in India, are still out of the coverage for any kind of broadcast, whether it's radio, television, or internet-based remote learning strategies. So why they are out of this? Because they do not have necessary hardware and software. And this is also my own experience when I talk to my service provider or sabji wala. They say हमारे पास तो वो phone नहीं है, तो हमारे बच्चे नहीं पढ़ रहे हैं, और वो उनके साथ ही सब्जी या फल बेचने में लगे रहते हैं ठेले के आसपास. तो ये जो बच्चे चाहे वो रूरल एरियाज के हैं या अर्बन स्लम्स के हैं, अर्बन पुअर हैं, they are really out of this ambit. So now another thing is, in India and in other countries, schools have remained closed. So all online platforms have been used when school buildings are not really open and children are supposed to learn it from their household only. Okay? So these are the things which world over is happening. And television has the maximum potential to reach. And we also have made policies for use of local television. And it is very important in context of India, because national television cannot cater to vernacular language learners of rural areas. and it is encouraging that most of the SCRTs which we know of have basically designed vernacular language programs to be broadcasted through television, but television is not really being viewed still by many of the children. Okay, so even television or radio is not really reaching, and UNESCO report says that only 60% of children are really learning through radio and television. You leave aside internet and other things. Okay, so 2/3 children in any case cannot be reached. So only you can say 25% children are able to learn through remote learning teaching strategies, and 75% children are not really being covered, and especially these children are of poor families. Now this is another NGO, Room to Read, which have again done a survey for the marginalized group. So whenever any crisis happen, who is the sufferer? The marginalized group is a sufferer. So whoever is a marginalized group, whether it's socio-economic group, rural area, or girls or disability. So these are the populations which have always been out of education gambit, and they have suffered. So this NGO has found out about girls, and they say that it is the girls who are again suffering, because when economic condition has gone down, then many parents have lost their jobs, then the girls have come back to take care of their household responsibilities, and they have been asked to drop out from the education system. So this is a finding from one NGO. I couldn't find a study for disability and others, but in any case, from non-formal or informal conversations with some special schools in Delhi, I have found out that though they are doing again online videos they are sending, they have also shared that with me in WhatsApp, that what are those videos and how they are learning. But they are very you can say one way interaction, because feedback and interaction is very difficult even through online. So there is another foundation, Smile Foundation, which has done a survey, and what they found that again the same finding which has been said by ESSER and UNESCO, that more than 50% our children don't have smartphones. So even if WhatsApp, which we are saying, is reaching, though many children are really not able to access all those things which need to reach them. Okay. Sorry. What is happening here? So now we will just see a little.
ये बताओ कितनी तनख्वाह मिलती है, बताओ कितनी तनख्वाह मिलती है आपको हैं? और जोड़ के 89,000 मिलती है। तो मैडम कितने, अब पढ़ाई का क्या काम हो सुबह से बताओ चलो स्कूल में। अभी सरकार के निर्देश है ना स्माइल कंटेंट के, ई क्लासेस के, किसको भेज रहे हो मैडम? सब बैठ के बातें कर रहे हैं, मैडम एक धूप में बैठी है, आपके 10 लोग आए नहीं है, किसको भेज रहे हो आप? बताओ ना, बताओ। नहीं रजिस्टर नहीं देखना, मुझे तो सच्चाई देखनी है भाई। आप अभी दिखाओ ना, आप बताओ आप मैडम क्या पढ़ाया सुबह से आपने? स्माइल कंटेंट आज क्या कंटेंट है, कौन सी क्लास है आपकी? नहीं अब करेंगे तो क्या 1 घंटा तो निकल गया। मैडम आप बताओ आपने क्या पढ़ाया सुबह से? कुछ पढ़ाया क्या आपने? मैडम ऐसे क्यों कर रहे हो आप लोग? मैडम मतलब हम देश का भविष्य बना रहे हैं, बर्बाद कर रहे हैं, क्यों कर रहे हो ऐसा आप लोग? मैडम बताओ आप तो मोबाइल लेके धूप में बैठे थे बाहर, आपको दूसरों बच्चों को पढ़ाने की जिम्मेदारी नहीं है क्या? क्यों कर रहे हो ऐसा? और आपका दायित्व था कि सबसे काम कराएं, नहीं तो क्या करवाया? आप तो बताओ 1 घंटे से क्या कराया आपने? आज क्या पढ़ाई हुई स्कूल में बताओ? बताओ। हाँ बताओ। नहीं कल छोड़िए, मैं तो आज का पूछ रहा हूँ आपसे। आज मैडम छोड़िए, देखो झूठ मत बोलिए मैडम, मैं भी समझता हूँ। अच्छा मैं क्या पूछ रहा हूँ आपसे? मैं आपसे बहुत स्पष्ट पूछ रहा हूँ, आपने क्या पढ़ाया? सरकार के निर्देश के अनुसार आज आपने क्या कार्य किया आपके स्कूल में, विद्यालय में, ये बताइए बस।
So this was a very good clip which has come from Rajasthan. And as we have discussed that our government, whether national or state governments, have launched many programs. Rajasthan has also launched a program which teachers are supposed to communicate learning material through mobiles to children. And our political leaders are supervising. So this was one of the clip of Rajasthan, and nowadays many clips are there for Delhi also, where Manish Sisodia is going and finding what is happening in government schools. So this is a real condition which you know, and through these evidences, it is also being confirmed. So our personal experiences are also being confirmed by these evidences of research and videos. Now, what is happening in other countries and how they have tackled it? So this is a little information about USA in a rural area of a USA, South Dakota province, how they have tackled it. So in any case, COVID is there all over the world and physical presence is not really possible. But what they did, so teaching in person in any case is not there, where nobody is going to school and teaching, but somehow they have been able to cater to all the children, and attendance is 90% for online classes. So this is something very, you can say, achievement, whereas we as a country are lacking. Even in our urban areas, we don't have a mechanism of ensuring attendance and really feeling that they are really listening to us or not, or they are able to learn. There's some changes in their learning. So this is something how they have been able to do because of their commitment and loyalties. Okay. Now, what they are doing is still, as we have midday meal program to retain our rural population or marginalized groups in schools, they are still doing that and distributing it. So even we had a big problem where our migrants were not really out of job, and also they were not provided with meals, and they were suffering. So this is just an example of other countries where the management and planning is better than us, not the intentions. So somehow we have lagged in management and planning for COVID area or COVID crisis to handle that. So, but we need not be very, very sad or disappointed. You must have been learning in newspapers that Kerala has become the first state where they have digitalized all government schools. So earlier there was a scheme where every school was having a smart classroom, but now a whole school, whether it's rural or urban school of a government school, has become digitalized. So this is a very good achievement which Kerala has done, and recently, very recently, which is there in the newspapers all over. And all, but still Kerala has not started schools. So it's not really possible to go and visit and see how all children in rural areas and all they are working. But I can imagine it is the same kind of a situation what is in South Korea. Even in government school, every child has a ICT based or small laptop where all the books are in that laptop, and teacher, wherever she is standing, even very far off with a master computer, she can see what the child is writing on their laptop. So all the screens are attached. So I feel, maybe I expect the same kind of thing has happened in Kerala, and this way all our children could come, even with the help of social distancing. They can learn, and teacher can monitor and give a feedback, because education cannot happen if we are not able to give feedback to the child whether they are doing correct or wrong, or where how much is a correct and how much is wrong. So they have done it with the help of some NGOs, and this is just to let you know what is the PPP model in Kerala and what is the cost. So those of us who are in the area of planning or resource generation, maybe this information will be important or valuable for you, that how much it has costed in Kerala for how many schools, and if any other state has to replicate it, then what all it means we need to acquire in terms of money or in terms of PPP. Now, this is becoming a very important topic even in NEP 2020, that networking and collaboration is very important for survival for education. So far, networking and collaboration has been, it is a lip service kind of a thing in our education sector, whether it's higher education or school education. So many of us, either we just do it. Of course, the way you have designed the project and you have explained, Principal Saab, Kar Saab and Kusha Tiwari, maybe you are going to a next level, but that level is required by all colleges and all higher education facilities, that we need to work in collaboration with others in order to realize goals. Otherwise, all by ourselves, we are not really going to be competent enough to reach that. Now, in COVID era, the main thing or important thing comes as a social distancing. As vaccination may happen or may not happen, it is coming over and over again that mask and social distancing is like a vaccine. So in our country also, many of our educational administrators have done it in a very, very successful way. There are some photographs in social media where all children are sitting facing the wall of their house, and it is a full lane, mohalla, and teacher is just roaming in that lane, and all children are facing towards the wall, and each wall is like a blackboard, and they are learning. And also there is a story of a cart where cart is roaming, and as soon as cart reaches near their home, the children come and start studying. So these are few success stories in India which are happening, which are still just touching, but not really, we may not really reach the target of learning levels. Okay, so it is happening, but it's like access. When you have just enrolled the children, but whether these children are learning or not, that is still we need to study and find out. Sorry, where is gone? Wait a minute. Okay, so now if we are here, that what will happen, what from where we have to go? See, ICT has again made us realize that it is becoming a very, very major reason for divide. Okay, so if we are saying have-nots and haves, the ICT has become one big factor which is dividing the population. It's not only in India, it is all over the world, whether it's USA or Chile. If you listen to any webinars, international webinars, it is happening all over. So it is now what we have to do. We are doing something which we have seen, but there is a lot which is desired, because we need to bridge this gap between haves and have-nots. So how we have to go about it? Maybe we have to find some solutions. Whatever is happening, we need to strengthen. But whatever is not happening, how we have to bring that into education sector. I don't know, maybe it's a topic of discussion or brainstorming with all teacher educators or educational planners, maybe a use of artificial intelligence. So how this artificial intelligence can take over universities, colleges, and teachers will become maybe back behind the screen. They will not be visible, or they will be visible by a spatial kind of a thing, which you must be seeing nowadays, how convocation has happened in Chennai IIT, and again it is going to happen in Delhi IIT without a person being present. So this is all because of AI. In any case, AI is part of our life. We all are aware of maps, Google Maps. We are aware of Alexa or Google or Siri in our phones. But if we make that kind of AIs and lessons and plans, and where teachers are teaching of different levels. Alexa, stop. Sorry, I just took the name and it has started in my home. So, so what we need to do is maybe we have to learn how to use AI and make kiosks, and make these kiosks available in every nook and corner of markets or public places, where anybody can learn a topic from basic level to highest level as per their need. So that is maybe for future, and maybe Kusha and Professor Rabikar may ask somebody to come and speak on AI in education, how we can take it to next level, because maybe that will be less cost effective and more flexible in usage, and allow us to learn faster. But I am not the really expert on AI, but I feel that may be a way forward to bridge the gap between digital divide. So this is in nutshell, and you may raise some questions or share your experiences.
Thank you, Professor Veera. It was rather very informative with all the data that you've included in your presentation. Very, very useful and very, very informative. Before we take up the questions, can I ask all the participants to please switch on their videos so that we can have a group photo? I request all the participants to please switch on their videos for a group photo. Dr. Ruchika would be taking the photo. Neelam, can you just unmute Ruchika?
Sure, ma'am. Thanks Kusha. अभी 3 वीडियोस ऑन नहीं हुए नीचे. नीना मैम वीडियो. Okay. 3 shots. Please smile. 1, 2. थोड़ा सा और हंसिए सब प्लीज. 3. Thank you. Thank you, Kusha. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Ruchika. It was really insightful, ma'am. I have a question with me from a participant, which says that we have had problems since the independence of not being able to open as many schools in rural areas as is the requirement. And with this pandemic, the world and the country shifting to online medium, wouldn't this be a good opportunity to, instead of thinking of opening new infrastructure which actually requires a lot of time, management, money, wouldn't be a good opportunity for the policymakers to actually rigorously introduce online learning specifically in rural areas, so that for safety purposes also, and also to save time, the students or kids don't have to walk miles and kilometers to attend schools. Generally most of the villages do not have higher secondary schools or senior secondary schools. They have to walk for some kilometers or go to nearby districts to attend those schools. So wouldn't this be a good opportunity to rigorously work on them at the policy level?
Perfect. Yes, it is, because even NEP, when it is started discussions and conceptualization, didn't think of it. They thought of school complexes as one of the idea to bring everybody. But in any case, after COVID, it has to be a blended learning. But yes, the only uh, caution is feedback. So every learner need to get a feedback on learning. That needs to be ensured. See, dissemination, we still have many things like radio, television, or AI. So until and unless we have an interactive media where we can correct that your line is not going straight, your C is not C, your D is B, that kind of a feedback is very much required in some subject and some learning and some levels. So as a school child, maybe we might have open learning spaces rather than closed learning spaces, or see, everything, it cannot be just one way. There has to be multiple ways and multiple alternatives, and we need to make everybody educated. We have to inculcate skills, and at the same time we have to inculcate reading writing also, because we have failed. We were very good in skill. Our entire education was skill based, if we know our old education system. But skills or guilds could not be sustained because we didn't have any medium of passing it through reading and writing. We only had apprenticeship. So apprenticeship all by itself is not bad, but in case we have to pass it on, we need a medium which was a reading and writing. So that's why reading and writing got a higher place in education than just apprenticeship. And again, we are emphasizing on both apprenticeship, skill inculcation, but at the same time reading and writing also. So even in that, you see in NEP, specific learning disability, which is a disability for reading and writing only, they have given a big paragraph, one full paragraph of a specific learning disability, that has to be taken care of, and that has to be done. Of course, we have to work towards it. And what you are doing as a rural projects, I think those learnings, when it will come, it will help in designing a new education system where each one of us, as per our potential and capabilities, is able to acquire some skill as well as reading and writing.
Yes, yes, very true, ma'am. Very true. Though online teaching and learning can provide an alternative to a lot of issues that we face, specifically in rural areas, as far as unavailability of physical infrastructure is concerned. But yes, reading, writing, interaction are also need to be kept in mind. How there can be a combination of all these, but then that may take time. NEP has already announced, it's a 10-year plan to implement NEP. And NEP does focus or emphasize a lot on shifting to online teaching. Let's see and let's hope that it all is achieved positively. Are there any other questions the participants can directly ask the questions? Sir, would you like to say something? Principal, sir? Sir, you are muted.
Yes, please. Madam.
Would you like to say something, sir?
Just my thoughts, as I told you that we all educational institutions should, come together, and we may plan something where we need to reach out to the rural population. So this is the need of the hour. I think there are broader issues which have been talked in the NEP, but right now, since the pandemic is the immediate task to handle, so the onus lies on the higher educational institutions and the institutions like NIPA, all the central universities, because all of them having studios. So, this needs to be, channelized so that we can have a bigger audience. So that is my only point and submission.
True.
Yes, sir, definitely. You're very right. And as Professor Veera has suggested, we definitely should have a session on how AI is important or can play an important role in the field of education. Not just innovation, yes, of course, but then basic primary education, how AI can be used. That is what is the need of the hour for a country like ours, which has such a massive young population. We need to make them skill based, and it's a responsibility of the state to provide basic education at least to all of them. Thank you so much. I think Dr. Monica Goyal is with us. She is the convener of Innovation Council. I would really request her to organize an event like, which can talk about AI's relevance in the field of primary basic education. That would be wonderful to do so. Are there any questions? Any other questions from any of the participants? Okay. Thank you, Professor Veera. I think it was a wonderful presentation, and you talked about the scenario of education in different countries and in different states of India. Specifically, that video, from Rajasthan. There have been so many such videos that have been coming up these days. These are eye openers actually, and they really, these are eye openers, and they really make us see what or where we are lacking, or what exactly, what direction we need to be moving towards in order to make education available for all. It should not just be a formality. Even online teaching learning has lot of unexplored opportunities, which, and this seems to be the best time to do so. And we, all of us have, who didn't know how to operate in Zoom or online classes, have really come far. And I hope that we would not lose touch with this once we physically join our educational institutions. That's why I was wondering that, maybe once in a week at least we can have online teaching learning. That would really be a change, and it would be good and helpful also. Thank you, ma'am, for coming and joining us for this session. It was really useful and informative. We would love, we've had a long association with you, and it's always a pleasure to have you with us, and we'll definitely have such programs even in the futures with you. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you, all the participants. I must thank our principal, sir, also for helping us organize and guide during these events. I think it was Principal Sir only who got in touch with Professor Veera in the first place and the first time. So I still remember when we had come to NIPA for that conference that you had organized, I think in 2018 or 17, maybe, I don't remember the year, but it was on disability. It was really an informative conference, and we hope to collaborate with you further. Thank you. Thank you, all the participants. Thank you. Please do fill the feedback form for e-certificates.